Okay, this is Brandon, me, Elder God, part two of my review of Howling Reborn and Hellraiser Revelations. This part will focus on Hellraiser Revelations, which I just finished watching. Okay, now I will, before I start the review on this, I will say that this movie, I went into this movie a little skeptical because when I heard it was coming out on DVD, either like actually today, technically, I guess yesterday, I was a little skeptical because I had heard mixed things about it, because it has a different guy playing Pinhead. It has a little bit darker storyline than the last few, so it's gone back to more of its roots. But what concerned me was the guy playing Pinhead, so I looked it up and I was like, this is not right, this is blasphemy against all fans of the Hellraiser franchise. Anyone but Doug Bradley playing Pinhead. It has a 3.4 rating on IMDb. It stars Stephen Brand as Dr. Ross Craven, Sebastian Roberts as Peter Bradley, kind of a thing there. Nick Eversman as Stephen, Daniel Buren as the vagrant guy. He was in some previous Hellraiser movies, by the way, as a cop, I think. Jolene Anderson as the Chatterbox, as we like to call him. It's a girl in this one. Not quite as good as the original, but nah. The guy playing Pinhead in this is Stephen Smith Collins. You may know him from other movies. Let's see what his filmography here. He has played in Spare Change, Island of the Gondoliers. He's played in NCIS Los Angeles. I'm trying to think some movies listed here that people might actually know that he's played in. Actually, I can't think of anything else. That's the only recognizable thing that I can think of that he's played in is NCIS. I've never heard of any of these other things. He does a decent job. I mean, he looks like a Pinhead. I mean, I will give him that. Jay Gillespie as Pseudo Pinhead, which I'm not sure what the hell a Pseudo Pinhead is. Kind of a weird Pseudo Pinhead. I have no idea what the hell a Pseudo Pinhead is, to be honest. I don't know. I'd have to go back and watch my Boogeyman DVD on that one. But anyway, he plays Nico and slash Pseudo Pinhead. He does a good job. He's very, very psychotic, very creepy, very. I mean, it's basically like Pinhead getting a disciple, more or less. Put it that way. Tracy Faraway plays Emma. Sandy Van something or rather here plays Kate Bradley, the wife of Peter Bradley. Devin Sorvari plays Sarah Craven. Nod to Wes Craven there. Camelia D plays a streetwalker, a hooker pretty much. Sue Ann Penn plays another hooker, which is funny because the hooker's name in the movie is listed as Sue Ann, so she basically used her real name. That's kind of funny. It does have an R rating, so that's good. It only had a $300,000 budget, so it really does show, and that's the reason Doug Bradley turned down the role as Pinhead. I had to look it up, but Doug Bradley basically said he was approached to play the role of Pinhead for this and asked if he wanted to do it, and he looked at the budget for the film and the script, and he said no because the budget was so low for this film and the script wasn't that good. He read it and apparently didn't like the script, and I can see why. I mean, it has a very campy, it's not a very great script. I mean, it does go back to more of a darker feel to it rather than this open box, Pinhead comes, kills, end of story kind of thing. It's more of a darker. it doesn't have such a deep storyline as the previous sequels, and doesn't have such a lame storyline. In a way, it does, but at the same time, it doesn't. But yeah, the plot, storyline. There really isn't any storyline to speak of in this movie. It's the first Hellraiser movie not to have Doug Bradley as Pinhead. Little trivia note there. Most of the acting, especially by the lead antagonist, Nick Eversman, is terrible. At least that's what most people say. I thought he did a decent job myself, but I mean, the effects and gore are pretty much nothing more than copies of scenes from the other movies, with nothing new added to it. But it is darker. It does take elements from Hellraiser 1 and 2, particularly the blood bringing someone back after the Hellraiser guys, after the Cenobites had torn them apart, and then killing people to get their skin back. That kind of, it takes elements from the plot, basically, from that, and puts it back on it, transplants it to this movie. Doug Bradley's Pinhead is an iconic character, so they took a very bold move by basically remaking Pinhead. He is still the classic Pinhead, and he still looks like Pinhead, but it's not quite the same. It wasn't the same as seeing Doug Bradley as Pinhead. He tries to recreate, the guy that plays Pinhead in this tries to recreate him, but basically just manages a poor imitation. I agree with most of the reviews on this. Stop making sequels to the Hellraiser franchise. If you're gonna do something, make a freaking original movie. I mean, go with the remake if you're gonna do it. I mean, hell, if you're gonna do something like this, then just fucking make a remake out of it. I mean, seriously. I don't know what else to say. I mean, it's a good movie. Let me get into the review now. It starts off kind of slow, with kind of a found footage type thing going on here. You got these two guys filming this shit. So when I started watching, I'm like, this is gonna suck. It's another one of them fucking found footage type movies. Bullshit. But as it goes on, it eventually does actually get into the actual thing, and you see that the mother is just watching a video of these two kids. One of them, I guess, is apparently her son that has been killed by the Cenobites or disappeared or something. They never really fully explain it until later on in the film, but she's watching it. Her daughter catches her. She closes the video camera, and it gets into our story. Apparently, the parents of the two kids seen in the video, Steve and I can't remember the other kid's name, Steve and Nico, are meeting, I guess, for either the anniversary of their disappearance or their wake. I don't know. It's never explained what the hell they're doing. I'm assuming it's some kind of a funeral, the way they're dressed, or I don't know. It's never fully explained. It's really confusing. But basically they meet, and the sister of Steve goes into his room and finds the puzzle box. After watching some more of the video, which we are treated to some flashbacks of actual footage of the actors now filming it, and then more of the actual found footage style. So it switches back and forth for a while between those two. It's kind of a neat idea to do, actually. But anyway, she finds the box. She starts to open it, but doesn't finish because she's interrupted by Steve, her brother, just mysteriously appears. Scares the crap out of her with what would be a jump scare if you were watching it in the dark. Parents pick him up, and they're all arguing, like, where's Nico? Where's my son? Where is he? Blah, 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 because, like, Steve is covered in blood, and it's not even his blood, apparently. And he's like, I'm not going back. He's, like, stoned or some shit, is what it seems like. They take him inside, and here's where all hell starts to break loose, really. I mean, it jump cuts back and forth every now and then. Every time the box is involved, it jump cuts back and forth. You can hear what's going on in the house, and Pinhead's just kind of walking around in his chamber of horrors, I guess, or whatever you want to call it. That place has a little spinning pinnacle box in the center with the blood and all that stuff, and the chains hanging. I guess he's listening to them through the box somehow. I don't know. It's weird. Then we see after they get Steve all settled down there, they go outside to find out the cars are missing, the phone doesn't work, and they're basically stranded in their house. And it's nighttime, so obviously and the nearest neighbor's like 4 or 5 miles away, so they can't go there. The town's like a good 12 or 13 miles away. So yeah, basically it's one of those stranded in a house kind of scenarios. Anyway, then while they're talking in the house and trying to figure out what the fuck to do, the father goes and gets a shotgun because he's like, there's got to be somebody out there that's done this, blah blah blah. Then it jump cuts to Pinhead again, and I guess he's doing some kind of initiation ceremony with his disciple, because I saw it and it's like, cool, another Pinhead. And he's like, he takes this nail and he nails on this flesh sticks a nail in this other Pinhead type's head, I guess. Like every new kill they make, he gets like a new piece of flesh or something, I don't know, some kind of reward system. So it's fucked up, it's weird. And then you got the Chatterbox Cenobite, which is a female, but it's a homage to the original Chatterbox, which is a fan favorite, I guess. Anyway, getting back to the plot thing here, after he goes back from that back to the house. They've taken Steve back into his room to rest, I guess, and he's apparently somehow recovered miraculously or something. The blood's missing from his clothes, so I guess they changed his clothes. I don't know. He's got new clothes on. He's in bed. He's got his PJs on with a shirt and PJs. And he seems like he's fine, totally fine. The sister goes in there to talk to him, takes him a bowl of soup that the mother asked her to take to him. And they get to talking. They make out for a brother-sister make-out thing. I don't know, I kind of skipped past that point because it was boring as hell. Might be hot for some people. It was boring as hell to me. But anyway, go back into the living room. A bunch of shit happens. I can't really explain it. You'd have to watch it to find out, but it's nothing really important. It's kind of boring stuff. It's basically character development, more or less, where they explain in flashbacks, which is supposed to be the characters telling the story, what happens when Steve tells them what's going on and what happened while they were there. Because they apparently went down to Tijuana in Mexico to get away from their life or whatever, and then that's when all this shit started happening. But they explain that they picked up the box from this vagrant guy, and Nico opened it, and basically, you know what happens when you open the box. But cutting back to the whole scene in the house, Steve shows up out of his room, I guess. He takes the vagrant shows up outside first, and he's like all creepy, just standing there like, oh, the one who escaped is here, blah blah blah. Two fathers are out there, and he's pointing the shotgun at him. He shoots the vagrant, and then starts to walk away. The vagrant gets up and cuts one of the father's faces up pretty bad, and they go inside. That guy dies. The father dies. The vagrant disappears. And that's when Steve comes out after picking up the shotgun that they left outside. Stupid idiots. He comes inside, and the father's like, Steve, give me the gun. It's loaded. And he shoots him. Steve shoots his father. And everybody starts screaming and hysterical and all hell. He's like, oh, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, what the hell are you doing, Steve? And he's like, sit the fuck down. And all this other stuff. So he's basically holding them hostage and whatnot. And then he explains that Steve is not really Steve, but Nico. He explains that Steve was killing people, kind of like Julia did for Frank in the first movie, was killing people to help him get his skin back. And when he chickened out on the final kill of finding someone to take his skin, Nico killed Steve and took his skin, leaving him for dead. And Nico intends to trade their lives for his to the Cenobite. So he forces Steve's sister to open the puzzle box, thereby summoning the Cenobites and Pinhead. And there's a whole exposition where he shows up. He doesn't show up in any big fancy manner, but it does take you back to the old movies. I mean, if you're watching it, it really will take you back to the old original Hellraiser movie. There are a lot of moments where you'll recognize they probably transplanted it directly from the original movie, the idea, in the way it's done. So, I'm going to have to continue in part 2, so watch part 2 for that.